So let us discuss the 24th July 2015 newspaper, and let us try to understand what are the reasons why this US-Iran reapproachment on the nuclear issue has exactly has happened from this perspective. The first thing is the geopolitics in West Asia. So with regard to the geopolitics, the IS is rising in West Asia. The rise of the Islamic State, it made the United States to change its war strategy. So United States cannot come with its force or ground war in the West Asia anymore. There is a lot of public opposition to this. And the second thing is, Iran and Quds, they are very much active in fight against the Islamic State on the ground. And second thing is, US has withdrew from Afghanistan and Iraq. So there is a stabilization phase that has to be undertaken. And Iran is a country which is a neighbor for both. And these two geopolitical issues, they have changed the scenario. Now from Bush to the Obama era, if you see, Bush has made Iran as a part of the axis of evil, along with North Korea and also with the Iraq. Now, Iran, what the Bush wanted to have is he wanted to please the Israel and the Saudi Arabia, the allies of United States of America. And he wanted to make the Iran as one of its client state to serve the interests of the multinational corporations, which was opposed by the Iran itself. Now in this context, from in the early Clinton's era, an olive branch was extended by the Iran to the United States, which the United States did not respond positively due to the circumstances presenting over there. Now President Obama has taken the things forward from the existing scenario. And the major reason, the sustainability of this agreement depends upon how Israel and Saudi Arabia, their interests need to be protected by the United States of America. And the next thing is, the Iran, why did it go for a deal? You know the economic constraints on one side. When an authoritarian regime exists, and there are economic constraints that formed the basis for revolution through the entire Arab Spring. So in this context, Ahmadinejad, when he was the president, when he was declared as elected, there was a huge popular protest on the streets of Iran. So that's why it was also feared that, so the government, there is a probability that a revolution may come up if the economic constraints move forward with regard to the Iran is concerned. So the new geopolitics, the change in regime both in the Iran and also in the United States, President Obama, and also a moderate president taking over in Iran, and finally the popular protests and popular resentment in both the countries, especially in US against the further wars. There is a popular opinion going against to it, so both the countries have come forward. And next is death penalty. The Supreme Court has clearly said it has to be rarest of the rare cases. In this case, two important issues. In the previous class, I discussed about the death penalty from a humanist argument, a principled opposition for the death penalty, how it exists. So the life is a gift of a God. So that's what is the argument which goes into it. Now there is an error of judgment by the courts. And third thing is, in the India, the Supreme Court has clarified it has to be a rarest of the rare case. So now in this context, there are some things. The Shabnam case and Shatrugna Chauhan case, in these two cases, let us examine. So the death penalty has to be, proceedings have to be initiated when the particular convicted person is exhausted with all legal options. Now in this case, in Shabnam case, the Supreme Court said, the first thing is, all these death proceedings, they have to be started with a clear information to that particular convicted person, exact date of punishment. And next is sufficient time has to be given for him to close his necessary, formalities or necessary duties related to his family. So it means there has to be a sufficient time between the judgment and execution of the order. And next is, he shall be given the opportunities, all the judicial opportunities and access to them. That's what is the Supreme Court has said in the Shabnam case. Now, in the Shatrughan Chauhan case, what the Supreme Court said is, even in the case of clemency petition or mercy petition, he is exhausted. He can file for a review petition in the case of the Supreme Court. So it means that in the Yaqub Memmon's case, the Supreme Court directives are not been totally followed. That's what appears in the Tada Court's judgment. So this is what is the article talks about. So this is what is the same article about. Next one is on the monetary policy issue. The Financial Code of India is changing to provide for a 6-member committee to review the monetary policy. So this policy till now, RBI governor, he enjoys the supremacy in determining the monetary policy. Now the 6-member board will determine, and chairman of this in all probability is going to be an RBI governor. But however, he is not been given any veto power what the government proposes for. Among the 6 members, 4 will be from the government side. It means it can be seen as an attempt to votes undermining the central authority of the governor, which is given through the RBI Act. And undervaluing the privacy, the right to privacy versus the information age, especially the information age and right to information. In this case is how the privacy has to be protected. So big data is posing major challenges to this privacy. So in this context, the liberty, security of individuals, they are being curtailed, and the government surveillance or spying of the government on its own citizens is increasing. And second is, the big companies and the government are using the data of a citizen without his due authorization. So in this context, when a petition is filed before the Supreme Court on the right to privacy, the government argued that it is not a fundamental right. So it means if eroding of the fundamental rights or freedoms in the name of providing for the better governance starts, there is no end to it. So the better governance and liberties, they shall not be shown as against to each other. We shall be able to accommodate them together, but without compromising the rights of an individual. That's what is the conclusion can be for this. And next is India and the IS. So there are few reasons. So here and there, few people getting attracted through the internet propaganda of the Islamic State. By and large, India is aloof from the influence of Islamic State. We can state certain reasons for this. One is India is a multicultural country and with a strong secular constitution for that matter. And the second thing is the Islamic State propaganda. It is about bringing in the cleavages among the Muslims itself. Wahhabism and Salafism. Now, in its extreme form, they are being practiced by the Islamic State. In India, the people who believed in this are relatively less. And also, the sectarian violence across the Muslims, it is relatively rare in India. And added to that, we have recently government of India also started observing this issue from the security dimension. So in this context, what we need to conclude is this. So the growth of Islamic State or that matter, any radical elements can be curtailed through adhering to our constitutional values very strongly. The constitutional values providing for a tolerant society and providing for a secular values, it can be an answer to all these questions. So this can be the best conclusion over here. So thank you very much and all the best.